President Trump says he will expedite aid for U.S. farmers to stabilize our supply chain. The president wrote on Twitter that he is working with the U.S. Agriculture Secretary and former Georgia Governor Sonny Perdue to use all of the funds and authorities at his disposal. Governor Brian Kemp showed his support earlier this week for our oldest and largest industry by encouraging Georgians to buy Georgia-grown and made products.
And of course, Megan, our local farmers are really feeling the impact of the coronavirus. A lot of them can't get help to plant and harvest their crops, and they're seeing a steady stream of revenue dry up. I spoke with the owners of a small farm in Cherokee County. While they're feeling the devastating impact of the pandemic, they're also finding a silver lining.
We've got 100 tomato plants planted down here so far this year.
For more than 50 years, Tim Stewart's family has farmed this land.
Yeah, everybody else has moved off and left, but I'm still here.
Like for most farmers, for the Stewarts, a good year or a bad year depends on Mother Nature.
In the beginning, Tim said, I watched my crops die in the rain. He says, now I'm watching the crops die in this heat because it was rain and then heat and then rain and then heat. And then we have this.
This coronavirus is different. The farm-to-table restaurants the Stewarts usually sell to are closed. And with them goes the income.
We're surviving and we're fine. But it has been, the restaurants closing, that really hurt.
The weekly Woodstock Farmers Market is no longer an option.
When the governor shut the state down, I felt like we may be essential, but we needed to do our part. So last Saturday was the Saturday I stopped going.
The Stewarts are not alone. According to a report by the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition, which represents small farms that sell locally, could see sales drop by as much as $688 million. Most of that coming from the closure of farmers markets.
Hey, I'm glad to see y'all this morning.
So, like many farmers,
Squash and cucumbers planted up here right now.
the Stewarts are adapting. They've always had an honor system where people could come by and pick up produce and leave money. But this crisis is providing a new opportunity.
We raise chickens to sell, always, but this time we sold out in no time. People that have never had chickens are wanting chickens to have their eggs because there's no eggs in the grocery store.
In the uncertainty, there's another gift.
There are families coming that have never planted a garden, or maybe they haven't had a garden since they were a kid.
And people like Amber Jackson, who now no longer wants to go to a grocery store and wants to know exactly where her food is coming from.
Because you trust the people that's doing it. You know that they have the clean hands picking it out of the garden, they have it putting it in the garden, and it's just comforting to know.
Comforting, too, for Nichelle and Tim Stewart, is knowing they've weathered storms in the past and they'll get through this one, too.
It's a trying time, but we do trust in the Lord completely. And when we laughed and said that our winter crops didn't make it, but the elderberry syrup sure picked back up. So it kind of balanced itself.
Something will come up. It always works.
Bye, kiddos. Thank y'all so much.
You're welcome.
Well, even though the president, as you heard, just tweeted that he wants to expedite help for America's farmers, the Stewarts are concerned that they're going to fall through the cracks in the government's $2 trillion bailout. They don't qualify as a small business because they're a farm, but because they don't meet the minimum number of acres farmed, they also may not be able to get some of the $9.5 billion set aside from the Department of Agriculture.